Hello, everybody. Welcome to our day 8. Welcome to my co hosts, Terry and Jerry. Ladies, good morning, good
Good
afternoon.
afternoon, early evening here in Indiana.
It's
Good afternoon here. So it's a
welcome,
it's a beautiful day outside in Utah.
is it? That's
Yes.
wonderful. It's
Yeah.
nearly an hour to midnight for me
Oh
Oh,
my
in
goodness.
Harare, in Zimbabwe.
wow.
La- So, ladies, today we're going to do it differently as we are still having technical challenges. As I'm trying to sort out the videos, I will let you two share with our audiences about your books. So, Jerry has written a book, her first book. I think she's working on a number of other books that we're hoping will be published soon. And her book is called Grandma's Button.
Yes.
Grandma's Button. So Jerry will share her story and how she came to write this book, and then we'll talk about Terry's book after Jerry has shared. Thank
Okay.
you so much, Jerry. Sorry for putting you on the spot.
No, that's okay. I'm getting quite a bit of good practice with talking about the book, with doing some book reviews and book signings. So it's always good. So I wrote this book about my late husband's grandmother, and it's basically a story about myself and her.
Lay out. Go ahead.
So in 1983, uh, well, actually, let me back it up. I met Grandma Mary in 1968 when I met my husband, my first husband, who has since passed away. And he introduced me to her, and she was a jolly woman. She was nearly blind and still driving a car, although within a few weeks after that, she started hitting things and the car was taken away. So she was legally blind at that point. And um, I, at the time, was 17 years old in high school, and uh, I had just started going to beauty school. And Grandma Mary was a retired beautician, or I don't even know what they called them in their day. Actually, I don't remember what they called them in that day, but she was fascinating because she told me the history of the permanent wave. She was one of the first people to ever test it, and she remembered all the people who invented it. There was 3 or 4 different companies that made the permanent wave, the original permanent wave. And at that point, they hooked you up to a machine, and she could tell me how many customers' hair she burned off with those machines and how many lawsuits were filed against those men who invented this machine. But it was still used for quite some time. It's just the very first part of them, it was not a good situation. So, because I was so anxious to do school, I was very intrigued by this woman. As time went on, uh, Steve and I were married at 19, so um, she became my grandma too. And my grandparents were living in Chicago and Iowa, and I loved them dearly and missed them so much that I just embraced Steve's 2 grandmothers. Then, some years later, I had gone through school and worked some good jobs and decided to open my own salon. And Grandma Mary was kind enough to give me a loan so I could open my first salon. I did that, and I gave me this little, it was the cutest thing, this little um, payment book that was from a bank that had been from the 40s. And each month I was to send her the money, and I was to write in the book. And she was very specific about it, that I had sent the payment and what day I sent it. And I did that. And so we had this really strong relationship. then as time went on, Steve and I had been married. Well, Grandma was living in an apartment, and then she was living in a mobile home. And then she no longer could take care of herself. So she was moved to a assisted living place, which was fabulous. This place was the best thing that ever happened to her. She could have all the activities. By this time, she had gone to Braille Institute and learned how to crochet blind. She was completely blind, and I mean, now she was fully blind. And she just like delighted with all the people there. She was delighted with her new friend, Ida Johnson. She was a happy-go-lucky woman. So they could do anything. They could do art crafts and the theater, and they had dinner together, breakfast, lunch, and dinner together every day. And they had all kinds of parties, and she just loved it. And when the family came to visit her, she really loved that. She just thought that was she would introduce us to everyone in the place. And it was just the highlight of her time. So the whole family on both sides would come and see her as often as they could. But we knew she was safe and she was in a good place. She had a little apartment with her own little kitchen. She was still cognizant enough to know how to take her medications, and which was one of the requirements. Then things started happening, and she'd show up to breakfast with her blouse unbuttoned, which is part of the reason I came up with the idea of Grandma's Buttons as a title. Then after she had that incident happen a few times, she showed up with no blouse at all, or in her pajamas, and they would have to walk her back up to her apartment and say, "Okay, Mary, you need to get dressed. You have to be fully dressed when you come down for meals." And she always was very cooperative, very delightful. So then one day she didn't show up for breakfast, which was extremely unusual for her because Mary Chrysler loved to eat. So they sent someone up to see if she was okay, and she was laying on the floor. She had accidentally overdosed herself with her medication. She got confused by the bottles. This started a whirlwind of activities for her life and changes. She went to the hospital. They got her to recover, but they determined that she no longer could live by herself, which meant she could no longer live in this wonderful place. So my father-in-law put her in a convalescent hospital, fully expecting she'd be cared for as well as she was at the last place. The day after she was admitted, Steve and I decided to go for a visit. And when we went for the visit, they had put her in diapers, and she had no pants on, and tied her to the bed. When I saw this, I could not believe. I don't usually get emotional, but I couldn't believe my eyes. This was a woman who took care of her parents as a single mom during the Depression, who had been an entrepreneur, who had done so many great things, who had just a week before had us over for lunch at the assisted living. She was delightful, but she was laying in the bed crying, "Please untie my hands. I've got to go potty." And I thought, oh my gosh, I ran to the bed, we untied her hands, we took her to the bathroom, and we brought her back to the bed. I asked her, "Grandma, why are you tied up?" She says, "I don't know. I've been screaming to them for hours and they just don't listen to me. I don't know where I'm at. I don't know why I'm here. I don't know what I did wrong." And I was just beside myself. And I'm a really calm person by nature. But I turned myself around and out to the nurse's station. I asked directly, "Why is my grandmother is tied up?" And they told me that they only had a few people working there, and she goes to the bathroom every 15 minutes, and they just don't have time to take her to the bathroom. and about made me explode. I didn't explode on them. I turned around, went back to the room, told my husband what had transpired. And it was first time I ever saw him cry. We composed ourselves. We were so didn't want Grandma to know what was going on or how we were reacting. So we stayed for a while. The nurse came in while we were there and retied her hands, which really upset me because we were right there. And then we decided to leave. And we got out to the car and we said, we just can't leave her here. We can't, this is not the right place for her. Maybe other people, but not her. So we went home and talked to our children and said we want to bring Grandma home. They told us she only had 2 months to live. The last 2 months she should be with us because we wanted her and we could do it. So we did. So at midnight, Steve and I snuck into the hospital, grabbed a wheelchair, went into her room. I whispered to her, Grandma, we're going to take you home. And she started yipping, oh, I can't wait to go home. I'm like, Grandma, stop, be quiet. You got to be quiet. We were going to steal her. So we put her, I would dress her, took her to the bathroom, put her in the wheelchair, and off we went, running down the hall with Grandma hipping and hooing, and the nurses yelling at us that we could not take her out of the hospital. Steve first turned and said, I'm taking Grandma home. He yelled at them. And she's, now they're chasing us. And I said, she says, you can't take her out without getting a release from the doctor first. And I said, then you better call the doctor because Grandma's going home. And out the door we went. We threw her, put her in the car and threw the wheelchair over to the side and raced away. And as we were driving down the street, we kind of looked at each other and started laughing and said, I wonder if we could get arrested for this. We had previously, before we went back to the hospital, called my father-in-law and begged that we could take her home. He didn't think it was, he thought it was too much of a burden for me, but it wasn't. I knew it wasn't. We all know what we can handle and what we can't. And I knew what I could handle. He finally agreed. So we had his permission. I don't think he expected us to do it that way, but we never heard from that hospital again. So I guess they figured, well, we better just let this one go. We brought her home. We didn't even have a room for her. We took all of the furniture out of our family room, brought her furniture from her little apartment, and put the pictures on the stands, on the tables, and hung her pictures on the wall. Although she was blind, she couldn't see it. We just felt like this would make it feel like her home. Again, it was just going to be 2 months. Kids were so excited to have great grandma there. Oh, they just wanted to talk to her all the time. She came to life. I had to potty train her because she didn't know how to use the bathroom because she'd forgotten. So I potty trained her, and then she did great. She did great. She did so well that after 2 months, it was determined that she probably wasn't going to die. She ended up living 12 years. This was a delightful experience for our family. Because I had little children, my youngest was 1.5 years when she came, I had to figure out a way to make taking care of her fun for the kids and fun for Grandma. She had not yet been diagnosed with Alzheimer's. She talked all the time. She told us stories all the time. The children loved listening to her. And we knew it was the right thing to have her there. Those next 12 years, lots of things happened. We had miracles. We had some really hard times. I fought with the system, the legal system. I fought with the hospital. When she was in the hospital, I had to fight for her to be taken properly care of. But it was worth being her advocate. Because she had taken care of others for so many years, and she deserved to be cared for. I have in my book, there's many stories, lots of funny stories, some really sad stories, and some heartfelt stories, some stories of the miracles and the blessings that it gave to our family, the things it taught our children, taught them compassion and how to care for someone besides themselves and really enjoy it. And to this day, all four of my children are very compassionate adults. I'll share one of the stories that I thought was pretty funny. We had a young man who didn't. They asked me to be a Cub Scout leader, and I was a little worried about it because Grandma, when I was I was a Girl Scout leader, and the girls were so giddy and noisy that Grandma used to tell them to shut up. So I had to give that up. But I had these boys that came, and I had one young man that did not want to be there. He made it quite clear he didn't want to be there. And I told him, if you behave yourself, I'll introduce you to Grandma after we get done with our meeting. So after the meeting, I introduced him to her, and he fell in love with this old woman. And she would sing songs to him and sing songs to all the kids. And he would, every time a new boy would come, he'd say, "You have to come meet Grandma. She's my favorite." And it just was delightful experience for him. And we're still in touch. He's, of course, an adult now. And this was quite a few years ago. And we had a great time. I know that with all my heart that the things that we were able to figure out as a family and working together and loving this old woman was the best thing that we all ever got to do. And I am really grateful that so many people, I'm a storyteller, and through the years, I had so many people tell me, "You need to write that book. You need to write that book." Well, I started writing it about 20 years after she passed away. No, I started writing it 10 years after she passed away. And by 20 years, I still hadn't published. And when I first wrote the book, I did not think it was a good. I'm not a writer. So I didn't think I've become. So I took that time to rewrite it several times and make it better each time, figure out the process of writing a book. And I was very grateful to find out the day of launch that it went to international bestseller by 1:00 in the afternoon. And I've never regretted that experience, and especially writing the book, because we all as a family got to relive the great times. And that's what's in my memory. My memory is the good times. I get emotional about what they did to her, but she didn't have to deal with that for a long time, just a day, maybe a day and a half. And that's what I'll share with you today. The name of the book is Grandma's Buttons. You can find it on Amazon. And my name is Geraldine Eberly O'Lion on the book.
Thank you, Jerry. Thank you for that
Thank you so much.
beautiful, beautiful story. All the time, I just can't get over your love for Grandma and the connection that just comes through the story, and even your family. That care and that affection that you
Yeah.
have for each other. Thank you for such a beautiful story, and thank you for taking care of Grandma when she was alive.
I ended up taking care of both my parents as well, and now with Joseph, I know that the Lord made me a caregiver, and I'll always be a caregiver. It's like some people are just made to be caregivers, and I got to be one of them.
And you
So,
take care of our girls in Africa through the
oh yeah,
reusable sanitary pads. Thank you so much.
oh, my pleasure.
Welcome, Gertrude.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Jerry.
Hello.
I got to take a break.
Okay,
Always
so we've got
a
feedback.
pleasure to hear Jerry speaking. We've heard the story a couple of times before, but it just always blows me away with the power that love can have on the elderly. And I know, Terry, you are going through your struggles with your mom, trying to keep
Yes.
her at home, trying to keep her happy where she wants to be, and just respecting her wishes as long as you can. And there's some amazing women out there who have heart, who care
Hmm.
about their elderly.
Yeah.
So I've heard Jerry's stories a few times, but it just moves me every single time.
All the
You can
time. Yeah.
feel the love that is there, and it's still there to this day. So this is an awesome start to our morning.
It is. It
I
is.
don't believe we've been online for what is now at 8 days.
It did.
We've had a few technical glitches. YouTube sent out a message yesterday. Something has gone wrong with their system. So most of the videos that we uploaded, we don't have access to them. So I've had to re-upload everything. But it looks like we're back on track today.
Oh, good.
Okay.
So it's business as usual, girls.
All
I will
right.
be in and out in the background, just supporting you guys. I will hand over to you to make this day another success as we unfold with more amazing and magical stories.
Thank you, Gertrude.
Yes,
So,
thank you.
Terry, are you ready with the bios?
I
Or
am.
Jerry? Jerry is ready with the bios. Terry
Uh,
will do the screen sharing.
oh,
Who's
I
first?
thought we were reversing today.
Oh, do
Okay.
you want me to try it? Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
All right. So, whose bio are you
So
reading first?
Tell me who we're doing first.
okay. I'm trying to see. It's in the chat, Jerry. All of the videos. Okay.
Oh,
Carmen James.
It,
okay, let me see
Oh,
her.
yeah.
bye, Gertrude.
Oh,
She's gone. It's in the chat. Okay.
okay, so
Um,
the first
the
one.
first one she said she had was Carmen James.
Okay.
Okay. The link is right up under. Um,
Yes, I see it.
okay. So it's a long bio. So just take your time.
Okay.
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 Carmen says, hi. I have 35 years of experience in the wellness and fitness industry. I am the creator of Fit Souls and desperately seeking healthy and happy on outline life and out an online lifestyle and wellness program that helps women lose the physical, mental, and emotional weight to end their restlessness battle with the scale. It is a battle. Restore their confidence and live their best life. She holds certifications in wellness, coaching, personal training, food psychology, and group fitness instruction. And she also is a Beachbody coach. My holistic approach to wellness.
Go to the tab and post.
Wow. Well, thank you for that
Wait.
welcome, and thank you for the gift
Oh,
of
dear.
being able to share my story in hopes that it
I'm-
inspires someone
Go to
else.
the top of the
I
screen.
am Carmen
Wait, in the
James.
tab.
I am 56 years old.
Okay. What did I do wrong?
Yes.
Okay,
And then
now
remember to share your screen
I
when you play.
Okay.
okay, I unfortunately deleted it. So I've got to how I know what I gotta do. Wait,
Mhm.
I figured it out. Just give me a second. I have
Okay,
to,
no problem. Let me finish reading.
okay, go
You have,
ahead.
All
you
right.
have plenty of time, okay?
Okay.
Um, Carmen delivers life changing transformation to any client, anywhere, serving women who are desperately seeking to be healthy and happy from all over the country. As a wife, mother of three, and an entrepreneur, she can relate to how easy it can be to allow our lives to own us versus us owning our lives. The demands placed on our time and a perspective that we are the caregivers who must do and be for everyone else while putting ourselves on the back burner often leads to unhealthy habits that slowly and surely start to chip away. at our sense of personal well-being. It looks like she totally believes in wellness. She is a survivor of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. She is reminded each and every day of the importance of creating and maintaining a lifestyle where she has balance. Because after all, how can you help others if your gas tank is always empty? She's passionate about helping women find balance to reclaim their lives and become the healthiest and happiest version of themselves. Her program transcends the traditional focus on nutrition and exercise by working to also identify the areas of her life that are unbalanced, like stress, sleep, water intake, and even the strength of your spiritual faith-based muscle. It is a multi-pronged approach that has been proven to deliver lasting results time and time again. I present to you Carmen James.
Okay, Jerry. Yes.
Hello, I'm Claire. I'm 64 years old. I live full-time in my van, which is a Fiat Ducato Maxi 2016 turbo diesel. I live fully off-grid with solar power and a lithium system.
Is that Carmen?
Come and have a look inside.
Is it not playing?
This
We have it.
is my van.
We have it.
And my van has a name, and it's called the Mouse House. And there's a couple of little mice in there. Would you like to come inside? Come on in. Well, this part of the van is probably the bit that makes this van a bit different to other vans. When the white door's shut, it's just a tradies van. But when it's open, it's a beautiful little house, complete with windows that open, actually. This one opens one way, and this one over here opens another way. So I can get breezes in from, oh, that's nice, actually, from whichever direction it happens to be coming from. Behind that window is my office. I actually kept this because I had it in my house and I loved it. And it's just a cabinet, but it has a pull-out shelf, which is excellent for a keyboard because you could call this my office. You could call the first three drawers my office. You could call the bottom drawer the tool shed.
It's the wrong
I
video.
had a house and I had a mortgage. And as you might know, being an artist, your income is not much. So
Jerry,
then I thought, well,
Yeah.
if I have something small and
it's the
beautiful
wrong
that
video.
I own without a mortgage, that's going to make me feel a lot better than having 4 empty bedrooms.
I did the wrong one.
Yeah.
That's the one right under her name.
Carmen is the first link. Do you see it?
The first link, that's the one I just did.
No.
Well, and the video links are working. Before it said videos playing, not playing, and then it says Carmen James, and then
Yeah. Click that link.
and that link is the one I put in.
No.
No?
Just click it. Click that one.
Okay. Oh dear. Messed up the first try. Oh dear. But is that sharing?
No, not yet. So share.
Okay.
Wow. Well, thank you for that welcome, and thank you for the gift of being able to share my story in hopes that it inspires someone else. I am Carmen James. I am 56.
So go to the tab
old,
and stop
I
it.
live in the United
Tab
States.
on the top.
We have a condo both in Naples, Florida, which is where I am right now. I've been here for the winter months. And we also have a condo in Ohio. And so my
You guys hear it
story,
now?
I think, is a
Yes, we
bit
can see it and then make
fascinating
it
when you start
bigger.
to think about. I have
Yeah.
been in the health and fitness industry pretty much my entire career. And imagine all the women that I have helped change their lives, whether they wanted to lose weight or get off of blood pressure medication or depression medication, or they wanted to reel in their diabetes, whatever it might be. I have spent 35 years of my adult life changing the lives of other women and helping them find success both on and off the scale. But it was in 2017 when my husband and I flew to our home here in Florida. We were on vacation. It was simply a long weekend. The day before we would board the plane to come home, we would be up at the pool and I would find a tumor in my stomach. And the irony of it was, I reached across my stomach to get a magazine while we were just relaxing in the sun. And I felt something rock hard in my stomach. I had just been to the doctor for a physical 6 months prior. And I'm thinking, what on earth could this be? I quickly grabbed my phone and I'm scrolling female human anatomy, thinking, what's happened to me? And I see that it says there are no major organs on the left-hand side of the female body. And immediately my heart started to race. I could just feel everything inside of me, just bells and whistles. And this still small voice in my head said, it might be cancer. And so I said something to my husband. He felt the tumor. He said, oh my gosh, it feels rock hard. It appears to be quite sizable. This is crazy. So the next day we board a plane to go home. I immediately leave the airport. I have literally less than 2 hours before I'm supposed to be at a brick and mortar gym to train clients. I go to an urgent care. The doctor comes in. She does a little bit of an exam, asks me some questions. She asks me, have you been tired? Have you been sick? And I'm like, I mean, we just bought a condo last month and we moved, and, I'm no more tired than any other working, wife and mother would be. I did have the flu at Christmas, and for some strange reason, I couldn't seem to get rid of the flu. Like, I had it for 2 weeks, which I don't get sick. I'm never sick. I, up to that point, literally had a spotless healthcare record, medical chart. I was on no medicine, no nothing. So she left the room. She came back in and she said, Mrs. James, I really do believe, and she had tears running down her face, that this is a tumor and it's cancer. And I would advise you to see your primary doctor within the next 24 hours because I think this is something very, very aggressive. The next day, I was in to see my primary doctor. 2 days later, I was put in the hospital. They did a biopsy. And that Sunday night, the biopsy was on Friday. Sunday night, my phone rang and my life changed. My life changed on a dime. Everything that I had done for other women, all the lives that I had changed, some lives even saved. Suddenly, my own life was in jeopardy. I heard the words, you have non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I was sent 90 days later to an oncologist who would confirm that, would tell me it was stage 3, and also share with me that statistics say in my situation and at my age, I would be lucky to have 10 years left to live. This summer will mark 5 years. On June 15th, I returned to the oncologist to find out if I am still in remission. If I am, it marks a 5-year anniversary, a major milestone for anyone who has an incurable blood cancer. What is mind-blowing is sitting with that oncologist and hearing the words, "This is incurable. The best we can do for you is give you an aggressive chemo. You'll probably get very sick. You're probably going to lose your hair," which I did. I lost my eyebrows, my eyelashes, every ounce of hair on my head, my armpits, didn't have to shave my legs again. I know some of you think, well, that might be a blessing. But nonetheless, I did go through those 6 months of aggressive chemo. I was very sick, but I also continued to work. I did not lose a single client during that time. I showed up to work many days very sick, but I knew that I needed that. I needed that outlet. I needed to be with my clients. I needed to continue my normal routine as best I could. And I needed to let my clients see what I would want for them in the same situation. You got to rise up out of those ashes, and you've got to be willing to fight. Fight for your life and fight for your right to be here on planet Earth. What did cancer teach me? Oh my goodness, the lessons that I have been able to share with the women who come into my wellness coaching program, lessons about the true definition of walking by faith, the understanding that there is a warrior inside of each and every one of us, the lessons about perseverance, about not giving up when you truly do want to throw the towel in, and what is possible when you get to the other side, when you persevere. Just like I taught countless clients who would come to me and say, I've tried this program, I've tried that program, I lost weight, but I gained the weight back, or I was just told I'm a diabetic. I was just told I have multiple sclerosis, or I've even coached clients since my diagnosis who have also been diagnosed with cancer. And just being able to share with women and allow them to see the transparency, the good, the bad, and the ugly of the journey, and coming out on the other side and realizing cancer was indeed the greatest gift. Because while I walked into cancer as somebody who worked out and pretty much ate right most of the time, I was missing one of the most important ingredients. And so many women miss this as well. And that is stress. Stress, burning the candle at both ends while being a wife and a mother and a business owner and a best friend and a sister and a neighbor and a whatever else, right? All the hats that we wear, all the roles that we play. I was giving way too much of myself away. I had far too much on my plate, burning that candle at both ends and not pouring back into myself, not taking time for self-care. And so many women say to me, self-care, honestly, that seems selfish. Like, I really can't take away time for myself and work on me. My kids need me. My husband needs me. My business needs me. My church needs me. Yes, I get it. I get it. But at the end of the day, we were never created to pour from broken, empty vessels. And when we continue to show up and do that, well, we might get that diagnosis of stage 3 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And that's not something I would wish for anyone. So cancer taught me about realigning my priorities, about understanding that I was giving everything away and not pouring back into me. I wasn't quite practicing what I preached. I had most of it right, but something really crucial to my overall health, that stress management, that self-care, that self-love, taking time out to rest, to breathe, to meditate, to journal, to walk in nature, to just be, to just simply be, it was missing for me. And so now I have flipped my business upside down. I no longer work as a personal trainer, just giving people great workouts and a little bit of advice when it comes to nutrition. Nope, that's not this girl anymore. I'm on a mission to help women lose the baggage, the physical, the mental, the emotional baggage that keeps them trapped, living half a shell of a life. I want women to thrive. I want women to do more than just survive the day. I want to educate. I want to empower. I want to give to them anything I can in their toolbox as a wellness coach who looks at them holistically, coaches them from 8 different pillars in my Fit Souls framework. And that includes workout and how we fuel our bodies and how we hydrate our bodies, the importance of water, the importance of quality of sleep, the importance of work-life balance, mindset, also the spiritual faith-based component, and then stress management, because all those pieces are what give my clients lasting results instead of short-term success or just a box of Band-Aids. And typically that's what I get. I get a lot of women who've tried a lot of different Band-Aids to take care of deeper rooted wounds and issues and things that then show up as dis-ease in the human body. Dis-ease, when we're diagnosed with a disease, it's an inward sign of dis-ease in the human body. And so I don't want to give anyone just a great workout anymore or some nutritional advice. I want to get to the root cause. I want to get to the dis-ease in the human body so that women can live their best lives now, because we don't know. We don't know what's coming tomorrow. We don't know what's around the bend. We don't know what the next medical report says. And I don't know how much time I have left. Only God knows. But at the end of the day, I want to go out knowing I made a difference and that I poured into women and gave them the opportunity to not just survive, but to thrive, because I believe wholeheartedly that we were all created for one thing, and that is to live healthy and happy. And that's my story.
Wow. What an amazing journey you've been in, Carmen. This is just incredible. But what feels for me really strange is everything you had done in your life had led you to this point.
Yes.
Do you feel like the experience gave you more tools that you can use when you're helping other women?
100%, because I had been that person who came into the industry. I started out in group fitness, then I got my personal training certification. And so I was just looking at it through a singular lens. And that's great. I mean, I could give women great workouts and certainly still help them lose weight, still change their lives. But what I saw often was I would give you a great workout. You'd walk out the doors of that gym and I might not see you for several days. And you might undo everything that we just worked so hard together to achieve. You might undo it all. And so what I found were women were constantly sort of in this wheel, or I like to say a ditch, where they got the wheels of their car hung up in the ditch and they're just sitting there spinning and they can't get out and they can't figure out why. And cancer really opened my eyes to the fact that it's so much more faceted. There's so many more dimensions and layers to a person's health and wellness. And it's not just defined by a number on the scale or a great workout.
I love that. And stress does manifest in all types of diseases.
Sure.
It's locked in our cells, it's locked in our bodies. I'm recovering from heart failure.
Oh, wow.
I went through a very traumatic separation and divorce 5 years ago. ended up on my back in a rice field in Bali while on holiday. I collapsed with congestive heart failure. And up until that point, I went through all of this traumatic experience and I kept working. I kept traveling. I went to 14 countries and ended up collapsing with heart failure. And I never saw it coming.
Nope.
But it was all of those emotions that I was running away from. Now that I look back, I was running away from facing the reality of my life and my situation. And it caught up with me.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about stress and how women can preempt getting themselves in these situations.
Absolutely. What I work, when we're working on that particular piece of the Fit Souls framework, the stress management, I encourage women to find, schedule me time, just like you would a dentist appointment, a doctor appointment. We need to have those windows of time that are just ours, even if it's just 5 minutes or it's 10 minutes, whether it's a walk outside in nature or coffee with, your best friend, or a little bit of retail therapy, or reading, a good personal development book. I love journaling. I think journals open the door for people to get all that stress and all those feelings that they've stuffed down out onto paper. And then it's like the weight of the world comes off their shoulders. I think that it is important, as a part of stress management, that we are exercising. We have to move. Technology is a beautiful thing. It is. And we all love technology. But technology is driving this world of now. We've got to have it now. It has to be faster. It has to be bigger. It has to be better. I need it now. And that creates stress. Even something as simple as when we sit down to eat. Have we ever stopped to think, how long does it take us to eat a meal? Because, there's so much evidence out there that it takes 20 minutes for the brain and the stomach to even talk to each other and recognize that we're eating. Most of us will shovel food in while we're multitasking. We're at our desk, we're answering emails, we're texting people, we're meeting deadlines, we're doing whatever, we're taking care of the kids, we've got a load of laundry in, and we're scattered, and there's just too much competing, and that causes so much internal turmoil. Then you touched on something. I've been divorced, and I 100% agree with you. When we walk through that valley of divorce, there's a lot that we stuff down. And I watch so many women turn to their jobs as their validation. This is the arena that I get my love, my validation. This is where I know, I'm a success. Maybe I'm not a success over here in marriage or as a mom raising kids, but I'm a success in my business. So when those things happen, we just throw ourselves more into work, and we become workaholics because we don't want to deal. We don't want to deal with those ugly feelings. We don't want to deal with that reality. So I really work and coach my clients one-on-one. We work through that stuff. We get to the root cause, because as long as we keep slapping the Band-Aids on, we are not going to get healthy and happy. We're just going to get short-term, blips of maybe happiness, but it's not going to be long-term that helps us, again, avoid disease in the body.
Yeah. Another thing that you really brought to my attention just now is how we eat very unconsciously.
Oh.
I have now learned to read labels. Everything that goes in my mouth, I check.
Yep.
Sodium levels in the food that we consume, the amount of sugar content. I find that my illness was a gift in a way, because I was eating unconsciously. And when I became conscious of what I was putting in my body, everything shifted. The weight loss started to happen. When I was younger, I could burn through anything. I could eat anything. But the older I got, my metabolism slowed down. So let's talk a little bit about your metabolism and the things women need to be aware of to lose weight naturally without putting too much effort or strain.
Absolutely. Metabolism. I love that word because as someone who's 56, somebody who's already gone through menopause and then having gone through chemo, you know, one of the side effects even of some of the chemo treatments is just you lose muscle mass and you know, there's damage to your internal system, including the metabolism. And so metabolism, I like to think of it as a fireplace, if you will. You know, the metabolism, if we're never going to put logs on the fire and it's the dead of winter, we're going to freeze. We're going to freeze, right? In order to heat the room, we have to put some logs on the fire. And so I say to clients, you know, if we're not eating breakfast and people go, well, I don't like breakfast, or I don't have time for breakfast, or I've never been a breakfast eater, or why do I need to eat breakfast? I mean, I can make it to lunch on a couple cups of coffee. I'm not even hungry. That's what they'll say. And I'm like, listen, my friend. Not being hungry is not necessarily a badge of honor that we want to wear. That's often a telltale sign that the metabolism is in the toilet. And so, you know, it's important when we, you know, fasted, they call it breakfast for a reason. We're breaking the fast of having slept during the night and not eating. So we need to put that log on the fire, right? We want to stoke the metabolism. We want to give it something to work with. The other thing that I encourage my clients is to consider eating smaller meals if that works better throughout the day. You know, 6 smaller meals versus breakfast, lunch, dinner, because for some people that doesn't work. And 6 smaller meals, kind of spreading it out, helps women, you know, keep their blood sugar in check, keep their cravings in check. You know, the other thing is movement. When you think about our computers, if I walk away from my laptop right now, it's going to go into power save mode. The screen's going to go blank until I walk back over and touch the computer because it's conserving energy. The human body's the same way. When we are sedentary and we sit for more than 2 hours, research now shows that sitting is the new smoking when it comes to health and wellness, because it's causing us to be a generation and a society that is more sick when we have more technology that should allow us to be less sick, because our bodies go into conservation mode. The body's smart. It goes, oh, she's been sitting here 2 hours. She's not doing anything. So let's shut down the metabolism. Let's shut the engine down. Let's turn it off and let's store, let's save. And that's really counterproductive. So I tell my clients, look, I'm going to be honest with you. Metabolism isn't just exercise. It isn't just food. It's lots of things. You know, we do want to pay attention to how much sugar we're putting into our body or how much sodium. I tend to err more on the plant-based side, especially after battling cancer. You know, I know that protein, dairy, and sugar cause inflammation in the body. Inflammation causes weight gain, it causes cortisol, and it causes problems with the metabolism. It wreaks havoc in our bodies. I also say movement is everything. Even if we just get up once an hour and walk around the house or go outside for 2 minutes and breathe some fresh air. The other thing with metabolism is water, you know, hydrating the body. That's everything. And many women will say to me, I never believed you about the water. I never believed you until I started drinking over 100 ounces a day, and the weight just came off easier. And it wasn't just weight loss, it was energy. Energy. I think to me, energy is far more important sometimes than just that number on the scale. So I hope that answered your question.
It really does. It really does. And what I found since I started drinking more water, I now deliberately have a water bottle on the side of the bed while I'm sleeping at night. I probably drink about half a liter of water. When I wake up in the morning, first thing before I eat anything, I'll drink a bottle of water. And when I feel hungry, sometimes during the day, instead of reaching out to get something to eat, I'll drink water first. So sometimes that feeling of hunger, you're really just thirsty.
Yes.
And it's just changing those little reactions to how your body is saying, I need something.
Absolutely.
That has really helped me on this healing journey.
Wonderful.
Well, I could talk with you forever. Tell us a bit about your boutique business, how people can get your help. Are you helping people online? How does that work?
Yes, I am a virtual wellness coach. My entire book of business sits online. I can work with anybody, anywhere. It doesn't matter where you live, inside the US, outside the US. It does not matter. I got my first international client from Ireland earlier this year. It has been a joy coaching an international client. It's been a lot of fun, but we've made technology work for both of us. I have a website, carmenjamesfitness.com, and you can go to the website. There is on the home page a prospective client assessment. If you click on that, fill out the assessment form, it comes to my email, then I reach out to you and I can set up a 30-minute free consultation, learn a little bit more about you, your goals, your needs. I can share more about myself, more about the program in detail, answer any questions, and just see if we're a good fit to work together, if the program is going to meet your needs, if it's going to be the right next step for you. I do have a 5-day free challenge coming up next Monday. And I can share that link with you too, the 5-day free challenge. Anyone can sign up. I'm going to go live in a Facebook group every day at noon Eastern Standard Time here in the US. But to be honest, the beauty of Facebook and Facebook Lives is once you've gone live, it stays in the group. So if someone isn't able because of time or work or other commitments to join me for the live training each day, they can watch that Facebook Live in the group. There is a workbook. It's going to be a great 5 days of jump starting your healthy and happy lifestyle.
Oh, I love that. So where can we get the Facebook challenge?
The Facebook challenge, the easiest way would be you can go to my Instagram at Carmen James Fitness, and there's a link in my bio. On Facebook, I have a business page. It is Carmen James Fitness. Super easy. It's my name. So you can go to my business Facebook page. I've had posts all week this week with the link. You can also go to the website, carmenjamesfitness.com/free-resources. And the form will populate to register.
Fantastic. Carmen, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you, hearing your story. Thank you for sharing your journey to recovery. It's wonderful to see and to watch. And hopefully if there's a woman who's been diagnosed with cancer and is listening to this interview, now she's got some tools, she's got some resources she can draw on, and she's got you as a potential coach to help her through the journey. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Herstory movement is attracting some phenomenal women from all over the world. I'm always humbled when I wake up in the morning and have these conversations. Thank you for showing up in my life today. I'll be back again tomorrow, everybody, with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And bye for now, everybody.
So stop the sharing.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you so much for sharing that video.
That was amazing.
It was, yeah. Disease. So disease is dis-ease.
Uh-huh.
That when the body is telling you.
I like that thing she did with that diseased. That's really clever. Okay,
And
so
it's true. I've always been one to make sure I get enough rest, because if I don't get enough rest, I am very difficult to live with. So I'm to be around, period, if I don't get enough sleep. Okay. So I've started this routine that I've always not accepted any calls after 9 p.m. anyway. So my family, they're used to it. Okay. So now, since I'm retired, I still try to get my rest. I wake up at 5 o'clock regular, because it's a routine. But the night before at 8 o'clock, I shut down every device in this house. I try to, okay, except for when we're on summits. So I shut down the TV, the phone, my cell phone, because I do have a landline for emergencies, my cell phone, my laptop, my desktop, my iPad, whatever is up, the TV, everything goes off at 8. And I prepare mentally to get a good night's rest. Okay. And in the morning, I get up, I take time for myself. And I'm surprised she coined that phrase, me time, because I always tell people that's me time. Me time. It's about me. Okay. So try not to interrupt that, unless it's an emergency. And you have to really be strong when you trying to set boundaries, because people don't want you to set your boundaries. They want to do it the way they want it.
Yes.
So yeah, it's always good to have try to have balance in your life as much as possible. Like today, I played golf. And I did quite well today too. Yeah, because I had had enough sleep, I made sure I had rested, So I tease everybody. So, with my mom and everything, I'm going on tour next week. Okay. I will be with my mother. We have 2 birthday parties, one Saturday, one Sunday. So Monday, I will be going to play golf with the girls. Then on Tuesday, we're going to a resort to play golf on Tuesday, spend the night, and on Wednesday. And then Thursday is my regular golf day. So it's like you have to take time out for self. There's no way around it. You have to. It makes you happy.
And it does. And it's she talked about routine, setting a routine, and how important it is to have such a routine. I can tell you my routine is I can work late into the night, but to get me up before 8 and to be active, it's a struggle. I struggle with mornings.
Well, if you're staying up that late, then that makes sense. You still need your sleep. You just moved it to a different time slot. Because if you need to work at night, I was a flight attendant for 16 years and I did red eyes. And luckily for me, the only way it worked for me was that I could, once I worked, I could lay down and sleep no matter what side of the country I was on. There was no such thing as jet lag for me. So, but since I've been here, my husband's habits keep me awake a lot. He gets up in the night many times, and I'm like, oh, please go to sleep. I need my sleep. Go to sleep. But he just struggles.
Yeah. I've
So,
been kind of fortunate that my husband is a workaholic, and I used to
Mhm.
be a workaholic, okay, but I've learned to relax. And so I've been on him. He's rush, 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 and he's making so many mistakes. I said, "You know what?" One day I just told him, "You need to go up, take a hot bath, and get into bed. And don't turn on
That's
the TV and just relax. You don't know how to relax." He laughs at me. Okay. And so while I'm telling him this, I'm sitting with my feet up on the ottoman watching a movie, and I said, "You got to learn how to relax."
mhm.
Okay. When you get stressed out. And he doesn't, he just goes, goes, goes.
so
So,
he's a doer, always
yeah.
on the go, on the
Yeah,
go.
he's a doer. And I've always been a doer also, but I've learned that I need rest. He hasn't learned that yet. Yeah, he hasn't learned that yet. Okay, so
Okay.
that was really good. She reminded me of a lot of things that I started doing, and I'm
Yeah.
on point. So that's a good thing.
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a lot of things I started doing too that, I mean, I'm glad that I wasn't too off base with what she was recommending.
Yeah.
Okay, so who is next? Is it
Okay. So we
Jane?
have Jane Enright.
Okay, I've got her
Okay.
loaded in my
Okay. And
bar.
see, ladies in our audience, you're never too mature to learn and
Mhm.
keep trying to
New
grow.
skill.
And this is
Yes.
an example of
Yes.
how you can just keep going, keep going. People shy away from the internet, but persevere. We're teaching, we're trying to empower women out there,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and we're doing it by example.
eh, Trial and error.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
This is the first one. I hope this one will come through right.
It will. It will.
It will.
Okay. There is faith. Okay. Faith before fear. Okay. All righty. So we have Jane Enright. How many times have you heard someone say, "I hate change"? That's because most people do. The reality is, whether we like it or not, life pushes us all through changes, some challenging and many
Mhm.
joyful, that shape our day to day experiences. Sometimes, though, in the blink of an eye, the unthinkable can happen. This begs the question, when the unexpected occurs, how do you successfully navigate change so you can land butter side up when life turns the tables? Okay, that was interesting. Very
Mhm.
interesting. Jane Enright is an ordinary person who has survived some extraordinary things. An inspiring and humorous and spiritual author, speaker, and positivity expert. Canada based Enright is a former kindergarten teacher, strategic planner, and university lecturer, as well as the founder and CEO of Everything at My Super Awesome Life Incorporated. She is also the author of Butter Side Up, How I Survived My Most Terrible Year and Created My Super Awesome Life, and Jane Jam, Inspiration to Create Your Super Awesome Life. Jan speaks to audiences seeking answers to overcome a fear of the unknown, grief, stress, loss, depression, anxiety, stagnation, indecision, sadness, and more. From top executives to stay at home moms, she is helping audiences throughout North America land butter side up, find joy, successfully manage change, and learn how to create their own awesome after unexpected change. I present Miss Jane Enright. Woo, that was good. I like that.
Okay, here
Okay.
goes. Okay.
Well done.
Yay.
Okay, push
Can you
play.
guys mute me? Because I don't see it.
No, we need you to push play.
Oh, yeah, but will you mute me after I do that?
I will.
Okay.
Thank you so much, Gertrude. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here. My name is Jane Elizabeth Enright. I am Canadian. I am based right in the center of Canada, Ontario, Canada, just outside of Toronto. I'm 55 years old, and I have a story like many other of your guests to tell. My life basically changed when my life was interrupted three times in the span of 12 months. Very, very quickly experienced sudden, rapid, unexpected change. And this was all before COVID hit our world. First was a personal injury I never expected. I was hit in the head with a volleyball, of all things, when I was sitting in the spectator stands. And I wish I could say it was an accidental thing. It was in one way. I was never intentionally hit by someone, but the person that hit me was angry. They were angry. It was an angry athlete who, just very suddenly did something he shouldn't do and slammed the ball into the stands. So you can imagine getting hit in the face, square in the face with a volleyball coming at you, several kilometers per hour, how violent that is when that happens. My hearing and speech were affected, and I really felt like Dory in Finding Nemo. I was just speech and memory and hearing problems. And just as I was coming out of that, again, my life was very, very suddenly interrupted when my partner at the time, the man I was engaged to, had his own catastrophic injury, and he awoke from a semi-coma, not remembering who I was, but literally not remembering who he was and his life as a very successful business person. So when he awoke, he looked at me and he said, I can't remember who anyone is. Are you a nurse? I don't know who you are, but you're the nicest and the prettiest. This is a man that obviously I worked with and lived with and was engaged to, and just no memory of his life or our life together. So that was very, very sudden. And you think that would be enough. And after that, at the tail end of that, my girlfriend of my best friend, 40 years, my sister, really, I don't have a sister biologically, but she was really my sister, was diagnosed with a terminal illness. And she passed away very suddenly and tragically within 3 weeks. And she asked me to, help her be with her at the end. So boy, did I get an awakening. As I said, to you before we started this interview, that makes one think and rethink their whole entire life. Very, very quickly, I learned, even before this global pandemic, that sudden rapid change can occur anytime. And many of us go through these types of things in our life. We may have a personal injury. We may have a loss of some kind. We may have a friend or a partner. We've all lost people during COVID. But I was learning about this very, very quickly and suddenly. And I just had to rethink my whole life, my career, my lifestyle, how I was going to live, how was I going to support myself, how was I going to start over after being very, very successful, having a very, very successful business of my own as an entrepreneur, and how was everybody else around me going to cope, because here I was advocating for people that I loved. So in a nutshell, I decided to take that knowledge, and instead of sort of being the victim, of choosing to be the victim, I made an active choice to take my feelings and my thoughts about what had happened and my experiences and say to myself, you know what, this has happened and it's been very painful and very tragic in many ways. I've lost a lot of key things in my life, but I know I have strength and skills that other people don't have, because I saw that in the hospitals. I spent over 100 days in a Canadian hospital advocating for not only myself, but other people. And I saw, very, very firsthandly that, a lot of people don't have someone to advocate for them. They don't know how to get through crisis. They don't know how to cope. And so I decided to write a book and create a brand called My Super Awesome Life. And because I really, truly believe that no matter what happens to us, we all deserve the opportunity to not only have a fresh start and a clean slate in our lives, but create new beginnings. But sometimes it's very difficult to do that, especially when you've been through loss, especially when you've been through trauma. The very first thing I did was I accepted very quickly that this had happened to me. And I didn't always do it willingly. And acceptance isn't about being happy or artificially happy all the time. It's basically, acceptance keeps you out of denial. It keeps you out of resisting what's happening to you. It keeps you out of spinning your wheels and saying, what am I going to do next? It gets your brain kind of focused on basically not only managing your crises, but problem solving and making choices that are good for you rather than getting stuck in what's happened. What I like to say is your past is just a chapter, not the whole book. Stuff with 4 letters ending in a T happens to all of us, but it's how you respond to that change rather than react to it. For example, never on such a global scale have we all experienced such sudden rapid change as we have with COVID. COVID is unplanned change on steroids. It's change that can change its mind anytime. It's caused us collectively as a global community to really, pivot in many different directions. And that's what I experienced even before the COVID. I always say it was a dress rehearsal for this pandemic that's happening now. So what do you do when that happens? I mean, how do you cope? Loss and trauma do not necessarily mean that you need to label yourself the victim throughout this process. You can have hard, sad things happen to you, but it's really focusing on what you have versus what you don't have and looking, what I say, outside in rather than inside out, taking a bigger picture approach that gets you through those tough times. For example, taking a little scan of your situation, say you're going through a loss, say you have lost a loved one, telling yourself, you know what, we all know we're going to pass. We just don't know how much time we have. But having someone taken from you suddenly can be very traumatic and challenging. Looking at that situation from the outside in and saying, you know what, I accept that this has happened. I'm not happy about it. I never anticipated this was going to happen. But I do know that I'm still here and I need to take care of myself and make a choice to do that so I can not only move forward, not backward, but also take care of those around me. So that's what I write about. I write about the power of positivity. I write about how acceptance and outside in thinking can help you not only move forward instead of backward, but it can help you grow and strengthen and build resilience from very, very tough experiences in our lives. We're all tested. We all are asked at some point in our journey in life to bear things that we never thought we would have to bear. That's why we need the tools in the toolkit, like the outside thinking and acceptance, and also mindfulness and gratitude that help us focus on the present instead of the past. Mindfulness is really taking one day at a time. We spend a lot of time thinking about mindfulness and a lot of money, on meditation and yoga, those very, very positive things, and exercise and reading about how mindfulness can help us. But a lot of us really don't stop and think why we're doing it. Mindfulness and staying in the present can really help you help yourself in a more positive way and inspire you daily to say, what am I grateful for? What have I got today that I didn't have yesterday or that I will have tomorrow? Mindfulness keeps our thoughts out of depression, sadness or depression about the past, and helps us not think too far into the future, because most of the time we get stuck because we're fearful of what comes next. For example, losing a relationship can be very, very traumatic, a divorce or perhaps the loss of a loved one. What comes next is often the fear of, well, will I ever be happy again? Will I ever find a partner again? Those types of daily things, coupled with a pandemic such as COVID, are very, very stressful. So helping our minds move in a more positive direction with mindfulness can really help us. And it's been very scientifically proven. It's not just your loosey-goosey theory of being present. It's the actual science behind building resiliency, such as James Clear and Dr. Rick Hansen and others, and Robert Emmons, who studies gratitude at the University of California at Berkeley. Emergency preparedness for our mind is having a more positive mindset. When we choose to train our brains to think more positively and focus on what we have rather than what we don't have, and look at the big picture, that helps us build resiliency. That helps us move forward. That helps us give the strength to say, you know what? I can do this. I can get through this, and I'm coping one day at a time best I can. It helps our minds think of the pathways that we need to take now and illuminate the journey. For example, what type of support systems do I need to move forward? Do I need to extend my friendships in a different direction? Do I need to reach out to the community that I live in and beyond, to find those groups that can help me, those guardian angels that I say? How do I stay connected when everyone's feeling so isolated? How can I use technology to my advantage? How can I use change to my advantage? And that's where gratitude really saves the day. I call it my OMG, outside and thinking mindfulness gratitude. I don't think I'm a rocket scientist. I'm just an ordinary person who survived some extraordinary things. But I'm just telling you about these from a firsthand situational perspective, and I'm showing you how I changed my life. Thinking about my life as a gift rather than a burden helped me say to myself, you know what? All of these things that have happened in my life, it's like I get to redo my life. I get to start from ground zero, and I get to turn the page. The past is just a chapter, not the whole book. I get to start brand new and fresh not only every day, but in different areas of my life with a new career. I get to focus on my health differently. I get to have more balance in my life. I get to choose what types of relationships. I don't know what the next 5 minutes is going to bring, but I do know how I control my time, how I spend my time, and what I think about are really how I can take back that power when we all feel powerless, when big, hard, sad change, unwanted change comes into our life. It's creating that happiness, those joyful moments, and saying, you know what? I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to spend the next few moments of my day or my life doing this, that, and the other, because this is what is important to me. So I learned by taking care of myself, I could therefore better take care of my family and move forward in a very, very positive direction. And it opened up a brand new, super awesome career for me. I never thought I would be an author. I never thought I would be sharing my story. I never thought I'd meet you. And I probably would not have met you or be having this experience if all those things hadn't happened. So that's basically me in a nutshell.
Wow. What a roller coaster ride you've been on.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Lots of waves.
Incredible. So what happened to your partner? Is he okay?
You know what? He is. He's wonderful. And things change. He made a remarkable recovery. His memory, he's recovered enough of a memory that he knows who I am. And he remembers some things. He doesn't always remember all the time. And that's one of the reasons I wrote the book, is because I had my speech taken away from me. When I experienced my injury, my speech was taken away from me. I couldn't speak, and it was emotionally exhausting to do this in the hospital and tell the story. So I started to write it down. And one of the reasons I knew I was writing, Gertrude, and in my head, I kept saying, I got to write all this down because I'll never remember how to tell them what happened.
Oh,
and so that's how it started. And I, at the end of it, when all of this happened and my friend, so tragically passed, I knew all this had to have a sense of meaning. And so like people who have gone through tremendous tragedy in their life, I looked for this to have meaning. I said, what's my purpose? You talked about that in your TED Talk. What's my purpose? What am I supposed to do here? And I said, I have a strong desire and a keen desire to help others. I know I have skills that other people don't have, but I also know that I have the gift of communication, and that I know I can pass along my story in a way, in a lighthearted way, because I try and tell you my story in a lighthearted way, because there were some funny moments. I mean, when Clayton woke up, it wasn't just that he couldn't remember me, and I started to leaf through the iPhone, you know, showing him pictures. Well, what about this? What, here's where we live, and here's your kids, and here's my kids, and here's where we went on a trip to France. And he looked at me and he said, I live with you?
Oh, wow.
I sleep with you? I live there? Wow. I'm a lucky son of a bitch. So he set the tone for me, you know.
Oh, that is
So as
so
we're talking,
beautiful.
he's downstairs in my house. We're not married. We never did get married, but we're still
Okay.
very close. And I don't want to give away all the details to protect his privacy. But we still have a super awesome relationship. You know, he's downstairs barbecuing right now, and that's something he never would have been able to do had he not had the advocacy in the hospital to get him into the right program. So he's a miracle. I've had lots of miracles, and things that have happened to me happen to lots of people, lots of different ways. But I just had it all happen very, very
All
suddenly.
at once.
Oh, yeah. I'm getting shivers when I think about it. I don't really think about it. You know what? I really focus on what I've accomplished.
Yeah.
What I've accomplished, and I would say that to anyone. You know, the one thing you asked me that, you know, in a question, what I can't remember exactly what I wrote, you know, but I can tell you that I am a prime example that there can be happiness and joy after a lot of hard, sad things. Is everything perfect? No. And that's not what positivity is about. It's about taking a more optimistic attitude. And I think that's what COVID is. It's an opportunity for everyone around the world to sit back and say, what's important to me?
Yeah.
What's important to me? Because
It's really forced us to prioritize what's important as well.
Yes, exactly.
So what would you say optimism means to you?
Optimism, well, really, again, focusing on what you have rather than what you don't have, focusing on the bright spots in life, and also creating. I believe we create happiness, we don't find it. I think there's a lot of people out there who say, when I get married, I will be happy, or when I have children, I will be happy, or when I get a new job, I will be happy, or I will be happier. And perhaps that will be true, but being grateful and seeing your life as a gift, every moment we have is a gift. I mean, I could have died after that injury. Clayton could have died after that injury. And I witnessed my best childhood of 40 years having a very untimely, not nice ending. I made it for her. She called me. She was on morphine, and she didn't have the presence of mind she didn't remember time or space, but she definitely had all her faculties about me. And she had assistants to call me. I had left the hospital. I'd only been home an hour, and she phoned me and she said, do you know where I am? I said, what? I said, yeah, you're in room 24, bed 1 at, X. I said, I just left you. She said, no. She said, for God's sake, she said, get back here. She said, I might not last the night. So she used outside-in thinking. It was remarkable that she had the presence of mind to step outside of her emotionality about it and say to me, look, I need you. And this is what I need you to do. I need you to get back here. And this is what I need you to do. And so I did it. And you know what? It was terribly hard and sad and very painful to watch. I never watched anyone pass. And I mean, we all have elderly people in our lives that pass, but you're not supposed to watch your best friend.
No, that's really sad.
It is sad, but you know what? Gratitude got us through it for both of us. I was grateful.
And to be able to be there with her at the end, that is a real gift.
It is a gift. And thank you for noticing that, because a lot of people, they never get past that. And
Yeah.
how I would say is, it was the worst call I ever received in my life, but the best. The worst because, of course, who wants to be asked to come and you know, who wants to have that happen in their life and have that experience? But how grateful am I that my best friend thought enough of me to have me by her side in her last moments.
And yeah, no, that was a real blessing. You know, I lost my mom during COVID. I haven't even gone to see her grave.
Oh,
She died the 23rd of April. And there's nothing like not being able to be there at the end of someone you care for's life.
yes, yes.
So
And
I keep saying to people, with the situation the world is in, we have to be grateful for every moment, because you just don't know when the last moment is going to be.
no, you don't. And you know what? I'm very sorry for your loss, because I think, like others globally, our rituals too of saying goodbye have been interrupted. Right? I mean, we all have things. I mean, in Canada, we would go to a place of worship, or we would go to a hospice, or we would gather for a goodbye party. I mean, that's what we did for Jen. It was a very celebratory occasion because that's what she wanted, and it made us. That's the type of person she was. But with COVID, all our routines and rituals have just been thrown out.
Yeah.
Thrown out. Everything that we know was so, like me, everything that I knew was totally thrown out the window. All my routines, all my rituals, all my support systems. I mean, to lose your partner and your best friend at the same time and lose your career, that's had snatched away. So I'm not saying that. So, I mean, and a lot of other people go through extremely, extremely traumatic things. So that's why it's so important for us to stay connected. And that's why I talk about in Better Side Up, and my other book that's coming out in the fall, Jane's Jam, the companion book, is how do we move forward with that? What strategies can we use in the toolkit? Because just as we put the food and the water away for those emergency moments, like a physical disaster, like an earthquake or pandemic or whatever, optimistic thinking is emergency preparedness for our mind. It helps us get through those tough times and respond rather than react.
Yes.
It helps build that strength and resiliency when you're pushed to those limits. You're pushed, like I'm sure when your mother passed and you're far away, and it pushes you and it says, why can't I be there? This isn't fair. This isn't right. But then you turn to your child, or you turn to your loved one with you, or you turn to your friend, or wherever you are, and you say, you know what? I don't have that.
But I do have this.
But I have this, and I can connect virtually. And I know when things get better, I'm going to go back and say goodbye the way I wanted to.
In fact, you're so right, because what pulled me through is that my daughter got pregnant. So I became a grandmother last year.
Wonderful.
My little grandson has a way of just bringing me to the present moment.
Yes.
The minute I held this baby in my hands, everything melted away. Nothing mattered. It was me and him. And I was actually saying to my daughter, if he ever has to write an essay at school on what his life purpose was, he can say, my mission in life was to go to planet Earth to mend my grandmother's broken heart.
Yes.
And that's exactly what he did for me. He has just filled every hole in my heart, has been infused with the love of this child.
I feel it. I'm miles away, but you know what? I believe spiritually, and I don't mean, again, in a woo-woo, we're all made up of energy. We all have energy. That's what I believe. I believe in higher power. I don't know who they are. Is it a committee? I don't know. I think one person couldn't possibly help everything, but I do believe we have angels.
Yes.
And I do believe things happen for a reason. And that's where I had to find my faith. And some days it was just, you know what? I don't know what the next 5 minutes is going to bring, but I know I have faith that everything's going to be okay. And if you start having that perspective like you did about your little grandson, and about things that save you in a way that you can't explain. Sometimes things have to leave so other things can come in.
Can come in. That
Yeah.
is so true. That is so true.
Yeah.
Now, if I could take you back to that moment of crisis, let's go back to your own health crisis.
Mhm.
If there's somebody who's lying in a hospital bed right now, they've been knocked back, they have no idea what's going on, what 3 nuggets of wisdom can you give them based on what you've learned with this experience?
Oh my gosh, great question. I think, first of all, everyone needs an advocate. And if you don't have somebody in your personal circle, like a trusted friend, first of all, you need somebody you can trust, right? Because not everybody can handle it. When hard, sad things happen, like death and dying or personal injury or divorce, oftentimes people are uncomfortable. It's not, they're uncomfortable with what's happening because maybe they're fearful that it might happen to them. And so sometimes they retreat and they don't often understand maybe how to comfort you. So if you have a trusted friend or family in your corner, for goodness sake, ask for help, but very clearly as you can, tell people what you need. For example, my friend Jen said, I need you here by my side. And even though she wasn't always conscious and alert like she was, she knew I was there. I held her hand, and that's what she wanted from me. If you don't have that, use the resources at hand in your community. Like if there's a social work team in a hospital, or the nurses or the physicians or the volunteers to help you find your voice again. And this is where, as a society, we need to take care of our most vulnerable populations. And this is why I believe it's so important. When we have people around us that are passing or going through loss, their gift to us is that we are now able to show kindness. And I think every man, woman, and child is now challenged during this pandemic to be kinder and gentler than they were before. So if you're in the hospital by yourself, first of all, advocate for yourself. Also, ensure your affairs are in order. You know, we never like to think that these things are going to happen to us, but they can. So if, whatever country you're in, because I know you have a global audience, get your affairs in order in a sense that you can be at peace if something does happen. And never give up hope. Miracles happen every day. The fact that I'm still here and now I'm talking to you, it's a miracle. It really is, because I could have lost everything. I could have lost, the ability to speak altogether. Start practicing gratitude every day. Wake up in the morning and tell yourself, what am I grateful for today? Is it the sun outside? Is it the fact I'm still breathing? Is it the fact that I am actually in a hospital with people who are helping me? Is it the fact that I have a loved one that cares about me? Is it that I know I can get stronger every day? Go to bed each night and be thankful for what happened that day. Gratitude begets gratitude and good feelings. You'll notice a tremendous difference in your mental health when you do this, because I noticed that with the patients that I saw in the rehabilitation center. They had what's called a gratitude circle, and it was one day at a time. You know what? Even if it's God, I got through today. Whoever your spiritual leader is in your mind, whoever you're talking to, just say, you know what? I believe that things can get better. You have to believe and feel that you can move forward. And it usually works. It usually works. And if you're at the tail end, then you have to say to yourself, you know what? How do I want to leave? How do I want to leave? And do I want to be in the hospital? Some people don't.
And you can make that decision.
You can make that decision. And but I believe advocacy, gratitude, making sure that if you can articulate that you're trying to get the resources at hand. And I would challenge all the healthcare leaders out there to rethink the systems, because not everybody can voice their opinion. Not everybody, I lost my voice for a while. I physically lost my voice. I knew, but I had the ability to write.
Yeah.
And write. That's not okay.
Did I get back right?
Yep, you did.
Yay.
I knew you could do it. I knew you could do it.
Well, you gave me some pointers the other day that I am using that's helping a lot.
Great.
Oh my
Great.
goodness. This woman was amazing. And
Mm-hmm.
I relate to her in so many different levels. You know, things I've gone through some things in my life that shocked me, but I totally believe that I gotten through all of them with gratitude and all of them with looking on the bright side. Yeah, when my husband passed away suddenly. I mean, he was training for a marathon and he laid down the side of the road and passed away. And I was in shock. But I realized pretty soon that I had had 31 amazing years with this man. And if I'm not grateful for those 31 years, I didn't deserve him. And
Mm-hmm.
so, and he had talked me into buying a house before. We were I loved our home. I was perfectly satisfied with it. But he had his dream home he wanted to buy, and it was being built when he passed away. And when I moved into the home, I just felt like that home was a gift to me that it became.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Amazing. She's amazing. I love that she's still with him, with her boyfriend or fiance,
Mm-hmm.
that they're still really close.
Oh, yeah.
Because what a blessing that is for her. And
Mm-hmm.
especially laughter. I full on agree with her. But laughter is the best medicine for everything. When we can laugh our way through things, we have a better chance.
Yeah. Would be nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
We had Charlotte on, and she does laughter when she was a caregiver. And
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
I try to do that with my mom,
Yeah.
and I had her laughing because I had all kind of old pictures of her on my photos on my phone. And she
Yeah.
was looking at it and she's like, who was that? It was her at a very young age, And I said, that's you, sister girl. She says, oh, I was a diva before they thought of the word. So, you have to try to keep laughter in it because she was having a really bad day. And that was one reason why I went to her house and I was like, what can I do to get her out of this funk? Because she was oh gosh, it was horrible. But having worked at an assisted living facility, that was the best job I could have had. It helped me get through with my brother with his dementia.
Yeah.
And now my mom is 93 and she's, she doesn't have dementia. She just has that aging thing going on where
my father-in-law is the same. He's 94 now, and he's fully got his faculties.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in a wonderful assisted living home that it's where he needed to be because during COVID he got COVID, and when they were doing something with his heart, he got COVID, and they told us no chance this man's going to make it through it. Well, he's just stubborn enough that he's going to make it through. And I think his mom lived to be 95, and I would not put it past him to live at least till 95, if not longer.
Well, my mother's stubborn. At 80, she asked the Lord for 90. Now she's asking for 106 because
106.
She wants to live longer than her aunt did, her mother's sister.
Good for her.
She says, I'm just asking for what I want. He's given me everything so far. So let's see if it's going to work.
Yeah. I want to be at least 100. I'd really like to hit that 100 mark. We'll see.
Yeah. She just wants to be just a tad bit older than her aunt.
Well, I think if I do hit 100, I will be older than anyone else in my family thus far. I don't know that there was anyone that had it. It's interesting. But wow, that was very good. And I loved hearing Gertrude talk about her mom and how her grandson helped her.
Oh, he's a cutie. He's very active. Sometimes she has to cut our meetings, because I have my grandson now, and
that's awesome.
Nothing comes before her children.
Well, when they were waiting for that baby, I was telling her, because I have a lot of grandchildren. I was telling her, your life is going to never be the same. You are going to have so much fun. This is going to be the best thing ever happened to you. And she was so excited that she was having fun before the baby came. I mean, she loved him before he was born.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was a delight to hear her talk about him and see the pictures. And oh my goodness, it just brings me so much joy when I see someone become a grandparent for the first time. My daughter's about to become a grandmother for the first time and second time. She's got two that are coming right after the other.
Oh, wow.
And I cannot wait to see her as a grandma.
Yeah. I know my mother, when my youngest brother's first son was born, I was living in Los Angeles, and she calls me talking about, I'm going to be a grandmother. And I said, I'm not understanding that. You are already a grandmother. and she was already a grandmother 6 times already. So I'm like, what are you talking about?
Another one coming.
Yeah. And with each one, she's in 5 generations now. So with each one, she just gets just as excited if it was the first one. Yeah.
Well, and these two are my first. I've got lots of great grandchildren because my husband's older than I am, but these are my first blood great grandchildren, and so I'm having to face the fact that I really am old enough to be a great grandma. People have been telling me that since I got married to Joseph. You look old enough. I am old enough to be a great grandma. They are coming, and so I'm pretty excited about it too.
Okay. Yes, because she's a great. So.
Oh wow, that's
you'll
amazing.
get there. Yeah, you'll get there.
Well, if I live to be 100, for sure I will.
Okay.
My grandchildren are in their teenage years right now, so I'm sure I will. So
okay. So we have Heather Kent.
Okay. Heather, yes.
Okay.
Right, let me just do my magic of what you taught.
Okay.
And if I get it set up first, then let you do the thing, then I'm not interrupting you.
Then you won't interrupt. Yeah.
That's what I
so like. If it accidentally comes on, just click the pause and you'll be fine.
All right. Come on, Jerry. Just a second.
Don't beat up on yourself. You're not supposed to beat up on yourself.
So what I've done is I've got this. Oh, then let's try that. Okay.
You got it up?
Oh, I put it in the wrong place. That's not a good place for it. Let me just move it again. Okay. Now, all right to pause. Okay, I got it paused. Oh. It doesn't want. Oh, okay, now I gotta go in and share my screen. I'm so glad I now know how to do this. Okay, I will push the share as soon as you read.
Okay, great.
Ready to go.
Okay, Heather Kent is a registered psychotherapist and certified teacher with a background in trauma assessment and treatment. She is the best-selling author of the books Heal from Your Narcissist Ex and I Left My Toxic Relationship. Now What? Heather completed her Master of Counseling Psychology degree at the University of Calgary and went on to complete various trauma therapy training programs and certifications. She also holds a Bachelor of Education degree from Queen's University and was a practicing grade school and post-secondary educator for over a decade. As a trauma-informed mental health consultant, Heather combines her experience from her previous teaching career with her integrative therapeutic approach to counseling. Much of her professional practice is focused on helping clients through the process of recovering from trauma and PTSD of abusive relationships. and supporting organizations in creating trauma-informed workspaces. Having survived her own experience of trauma and PTSD, Heather soon came to realize that many other people find themselves in the same situation, which leaves them feeling broken, ashamed, and paralyzed by fear. Heather combines her experience from her previous teaching career with her integrative therapeutic approach to counseling and consulting. Through her virtual programs, speaking engagements, workshops, and retreats, Heather is able to serve a large population of clients who want interactive guided support from a licensed professional as they navigate their way through trauma recovery and begin the next phase of their lives with safety and confidence. Heather currently resides in Ontario, Canada. Let's hear from Heather Kent.
Hi, my name is Heather Kent, and I am based in Ontario, Canada, though I am from Nova Scotia, Canada, the East Coast, and I am currently 41 years of age. And thank you so much for having me today. It is such a pleasure to be here. So the story that I wanted to share with you is one about my personal journey through recovering from trauma and PTSD. So I currently am a registered psychotherapist, and I specialize in trauma assessment and treatment of PTSD with my clients. Formerly, though, I was a high school teacher, and I used to work in a very high-risk community where there were many marginalized populations that attended the school where I used to work. And so part of my story begins in my classroom, where I regularly saw many different cases of trauma within my student population. We have these expectations as educators and as a school system where students come to school prepared to learn, ready with their materials, well rested, and ready to go. But the reality is that for the majority of the students that I used to work with, that was not the case. Many of these students did not have a safe place to sleep. They did not have regular meals. They did not know whether or not their loved ones would be safe. Some of their loved ones had been shot or were in prison or had died from a tragic accident or from overdose. And so these students would come to school laden with these very heavy burdens, and then, of course, not be focused on learning and sitting and learning history. And so it was very frustrating and sad for me to be able to very clearly see all of the roadblocks that were in place, because these students were suffering the effects of complex trauma as a result of their living and home situations. And so it was really sad because I knew that I was basically paralyzed because I couldn't help them. And, my job was limited to making sure that they learned the curriculum, but they were not in any condition to be learning. And so part of my motivation to do the work that I'm doing now was that very paralyzing feeling of knowing that I was not able to serve them and help them to be successful when they came to school, because all of these other things needed to be dealt with first. While that was going on, I was also myself in an abusive relationship. And of course, I didn't know it was abusive at the beginning, because in the beginning, everything was wonderful. Everything was fabulous. I was showered with affection, attention. I was put on a pedestal. I was told that I was amazing and that I saved this person and that they couldn't imagine a life without me and they couldn't wait to spend their life with me. And there were many red flags in the relationship, but because there were so many wonderful things that happened that made me feel so deeply connected to this person at the beginning, I overlooked those red flags early on and was able to rationalize and make excuses for poor behavior and inappropriate treatment that I was receiving. And this went on for many years. We ended up together for 8 years in the end. And over that time, though, that wonderful, kind, giving, charismatic person was replaced by a very moody, unpredictable, aggressive person that I didn't recognize. Outwardly to the world, though, he was this charming, fantastic, wonderful, helpful, community minded person. And he looked great on paper. And I was told so many times by people how lucky I was to get to be with him and how amazing he is and how helpful he is and what a great guy he was. And that was true. He really was to all of those other people. Except when we came home, though, it was a very different story. And in the end, I was left a very hollow shell of the person I used to be. I was stuck in people pleasing because I was terrified to ever make him upset or to do the wrong thing that would create conflict or a hostile environment at home. And so by the end, I didn't recognize myself, and I apologized for everything and felt that everything that went wrong was entirely my responsibility. And it was actually in a couples therapy session where it was pointed out to me by the couples therapist, which certainly is unorthodox, that this was not a healthy relationship and that I needed to find a different path. And so that was my big wake up call moment, a bit of a proverbial slap in the face when your couples therapist is telling you you need to get out and do something about the situation that is so unhealthy. And so that is what I did. And it was absolutely the single most terrifying thing that I had ever done, was to say that I was leaving this abusive person. And I was homeless for a while. I had nowhere to live that was my own. My house was taken from me, and I was also forced to pay a lot of debt that, of course, had accumulated due to him pursuing a professional medical degree. And I chose to look at that as the cost for my freedom. And I threw myself into humanitarian work, volunteer work, where I lived and moved to a third world country for nearly 2 years. I moved to the Dominican Republic by myself and launched into different types of work. First, I worked within the public school system, teaching and mentoring in sugarcane village, remote country schools, where there were very limited resources and certainly limited teachers. So I would do the French and English classes to these students, and I did mentoring with the teachers once a week to help them learn how to do second language instruction, because that was not something that they had ever learned how to do. And my goal in going there was to just fully immerse myself in something else and something different, rather than focus on my pain, which was so incredibly hurtful and just awful. I felt crippling anxiety at times, terrible depression, worried that I had made a terrible mistake. I was reeling from the trauma bond of the person that I had been with. And I had done extensive therapy as well to start this healing process. And so it was decided that it would be great for me to have a complete change of scene and do something totally different. And so that's what led me to ultimately living in a developing country for nearly 2 years. And when I went to quote unquote give back, what I ended up receiving was so much more than anything that I could have ever given. While I was invested in helping others, I was also healing and being healed by the people around me and by the beautiful people who took me in, included me as though I was part of their family. And I have these beautiful connections with wonderful humans now, even still 14 years later. And that really began a totally different trajectory for my life. And it was in this time where I was doing this work, I actually became involved in some clean water and sanitation projects. I started a 5-year Rotary International development project in one of the villages where I used to teach, where we created a community garden and an irrigation system for that garden, egg-laying hens, chicken coops for the villagers to use, and refurbished the school and built new latrines for the students at the school. And again, in doing this work, it was so incredibly healing and helpful to me. And what a gift it was to be able to interact and connect with the people there and to hear what they were asking for and be able to help them realize these goals that they had for their community. When I came back, I was very much rebuilt back into the person who I used to be, but even more evolved. And it was at this point where I decided that I wanted to go back to school. And I got my master's in psychology in my 30s and left teaching after 11 years and began working in first child and youth mental health. Because again, back to those students that I was teaching all those years ago, I really felt compelled to try and work with these students to be able to help them to function better so that they could show up and focus on school. And after working in that field for a couple of years, I transitioned into private practice where I could further specialize in my work with trauma assessment and treatment. And much of my work now centers around helping other women who are also survivors like me, who are coming out of or have come out of or have been in these emotionally and psychologically abusive relationships, whether or not they're intimate relationships or family relationships or friendships or work relationships. The impact of being in a relationship with an abusive person is really catastrophic if we don't do anything about it. And so this has really been my passion over the past 7 years to focus on working with other women to allow them to turn their pain into power and to create a new life full of safety and passion for themselves. And that is what also brought me to write 2 best-selling books over the past couple of years, because I also recognize that not everyone has access or benefits that can cover therapy services. And so I wanted there to be access to resources that I know that I really would have loved to have when at the time when I was going through everything. And so I wrote 2 books focused on healing from abusive relationships, and one specifically on narcissistic abuse, because that is extremely prevalent, especially in our society right now. And the number of people that I have seen showed up in my office suffering from these relationships was astronomically shocking to me, because I know when I was going through it, it really felt like I was the only one. I felt so alone on this island, on this desert island, abandoned, and how was I going to escape from it? And it really does feel like you're looking for a life raft. And so this was part of my motivation as well. I had a client and she said, you really should write a book because this could be so helpful to people. And so I took her advice and I did. I wrote 2 books over the past couple of years with the hope that it can provide people with resources and hope for themselves, because healing is possible. And there is absolutely a wonderful, safe, beautiful life, free from abuse, free from people pleasing, free from not having any boundaries or feeling like you have to explain yourself or apologize for having them. And it has actually been the most beautiful gift that I could have ever received. And so my story of surviving trauma and healing from PTSD actually provided me with a completely new path for my life and for my work. And I wanted to come and share this story with you today because this path is now also leading me to help businesses and organizations to take a look at their practices and learn how to become a trauma-informed space, how to create a safe space for your workers, how to create a safe space for your teams. Because the reality is we are surrounded by survivors of trauma all the time, every day, and we just don't realize it. And when we are in situations where we're working with people who are survivors of trauma, they may experience something that brings a traumatic memory back, but no one else around them understands what's happening. And so how is that person treated? How is that person reprimanded? What are the policies and practices in place that are offering safety and support for people who are survivors of trauma? And so we look at these practices, we look at these systems that we have in place, and we ask ourselves, how can we prevent or minimize opportunities for people to have situations where they feel unsafe?
Man, you have touched on a very, very interesting subject and a topic that a lot of women suffer in silence. And sometimes they don't even realize how bad the situation is
Absolutely.
until they leave. So, what would you say are the indicators? Let's say there's somebody who's listening to this podcast and is thinking, I'm not happy. I can't put my finger on it. This relationship isn't working. Give us 3 things that can indicate that you are not in a good place.
So for relationships, one of the biggest questions that you would want to ask is, does this person have the ability to feel empathy for others? So do they think about or care about how other people are feeling or how their actions are impacting others? So that is question number 1, big question number 1. Question number 2, do they expect total compliance? And is there punishment of some kind if you are not compliant with what they want? Question number 3, do you have full autonomy over yourself? And what that means is, do you have freedom to make plans with who you want? Do you have freedom to spend money how you want? Do you have access to your own money? Are you able to involve yourself in your own activities? Or is the person in question jealous of you when you go to spend time with other people or do other things that do not involve them? And so these are 3 really glaring questions, I think, that can help to give you a sense of whether or not this is a good situation.
That's really useful information to share with our listeners. Yeah, because a lot of times narcissistic relationships or people will love bomb you.
Yes.
They will shower you with everything and make you feel so special. You might not actually see the behavior.
Absolutely. If I can go to my East Coast roots for a second, I can give you an analogy here. So if you are a person who lives near the ocean, you may be familiar with how to cook lobster. And so lobster is what we're going to talk about here. And so when I think about narcissistic abuse or psychological abuse, emotional abuse of any kind, you want to think about this scenario. And so imagine you have 2 pots of water and you have 2 lobster. And of course, you have to cook lobster live. And so one pot of water is already boiling and bubbling over. And so when that lobster gets thrown into the pot of already boiling water, immediately the lobster knows that something is terribly wrong. And, if there was an opportunity to escape, the lobster absolutely would escape. And so it is an instantaneous understanding of danger, and this is very bad. Now, the second lobster gets placed in cool water that feels great, feels normal, and then the burner gets turned on, and the water is slowly, gradually changing temperature. But because the change is so slow and is so gradual, the lobster doesn't really notice for a while that things are shifting and becoming less comfortable. Or he might think, oh, I wonder why it feels a little bit different. No, it's probably just me. Everything's fine. It was fine at the beginning. Everything's still fine now. Until the water reaches a literal boiling point, and then all of a sudden the lobster realizes, oh no, this is very bad. This is dangerous. Something terrible is about to happen. And so being in a relationship with a narcissist or an abusive person is very much like being that lobster who starts out in the cold water.
Yeah, they say you can actually boil a frog slowly.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Wow. Wow. Now, let me take you into your future. And let's imagine that time is an illusion and it doesn't exist. And you could go and have a conversation with the 100-year-old you, that wise woman who changed the course and the trajectory of her life, has helped thousands of other women along the way. What would you say to this amazing woman if you could have a conversation with her?
With the 100-year-old woman? What would I say to
Yes.
her?
Yes.
I suppose I would thank her for being brave enough to make those changes, because without having made that initial decision to leave, none of the other things that took place would have been possible.
That is awesome. Absolutely fantastic. Heather, thank you so much for the work that you're doing. Thank you for coming online and sharing your wisdom with us today. You are helping women. I've got your website reflected at the bottom of the screen. Is that how people can get hold of you?
Absolutely, yes. And I'm also offering free consultation to anyone who feels that this is speaking to them. And if they would like to have a consultation with me, they can do that directly through my website. And they can also download my books as well.
That is awesome. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Herstory movement is attracting some phenomenal women who are bringing us tools, are bringing us things that can help enrich our lives and make life easier for us along the way. Tune in again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Heather, thanks again for this interview.
Thank you so much for having me.
Bye for now, everybody.
Okay, we are getting good at this.
Getting better.
Okay. That was pretty interesting. If you've ever known anybody that has gone through domestic violence but has remained there, it's amazing.
It's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
It's really heartbreaking because, you know what? Sometimes I have a dear friend that's in one of those relationships. She's got him out of the house, but she lets him back in all the time. And I always know what's going to happen, and it's always going to be tragic. And I pray for her every day, and I try to talk her through it and get her to go into getting a life coach and doing. But she's so lonely that she just lets him back in, and I pray that she will not.
Yes. I would have been in a abusive situation had I not taken control of it.
Oh, well, good for you, because
I was fortunate enough to be able to take control of it, and having two brothers, I fought back, which surprised him.
I would fight back too. If I was ever in that situation, I would definitely fight back.
Yeah. Yeah.
But boy, it's a sad thing to watch because
It is.
you can't make people's choices for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
All you can do is encourage them to make choices for themselves. And she's made the choice many times, but she slides back each time, and it's really hard.
Yeah. I've always been strong enough to make my own decisions, and you know, it's like there is no way this is going to happen.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, you do have, they have to make it up in their mind. They have to come to the realization. You know, it's just like a drug addict or someone with alcohol issues. The first thing is recognizing it.
Yes. Yes.
You know, you
That's
have to
true.
recognize that you're in that type of position.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. And then you have to have someone that you trust to pull you out of it, you know, to listen to. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, she has a lot of friends who just dearly, I mean, she's a wonderful, wonderful girl.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I tell you, she's got the heart of gold.
Mm-hmm. A lot of times it's something in their past that's you know, they feel that that's what has to happen.
Well, and you're right. In her situation, her mother was very abusive, and she feels like that's what she deserves.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not true. You know, I think the only time I get upset with her is when I have to tell her, you know, I feel like I need to yell at her.
Yeah, just take her and shake her. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes you feel that way.
But, you know, of course, I don't want to be, I want to support her as much as I can and love her. Just love her.
Yes, and being a listener helps.
Yeah.
You know, without any, you know, feedback or anything.
Just a wonderful lady.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, I think we have our last speaker for the day.
Is that Joanne?
Yes. This is the last video that we have.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I see.
Okay, great. Great. I'll let you connect that before I begin the bio.
Okay.
And we have had some phenomenal women, as always, our summits. Please pass the word along if you're viewing this on Facebook at a later date, to always look out and attend Herstory Circle.
Nope, that was the wrong one.
Summits.
Yes, let me go. This is giving me the wrong name.
It's okay. It should be right under her name there.
Yeah, it says her name on the thing on the top.
What name did it give you, hon?
It gave me Reverend Kelly.
Okay, that's the one we did the other day, and
yes,
I don't think I still have his bio.
It was she. We already did.
Yeah, it was a she. Yeah, it was a she. Sorry about that. Yeah,
let me try one. Okay. It said, this happened to me earlier today. It says her name, Joanne, on it. And then when you know what? It might just be you know what? It's probably just the header.
The header is wrong. Okay.
Yes, let's give it a shot, because I think we have had that happen before.
Yes, we have. Yes, we have. And we know how to handle it.
As soon as you get that.
All righty. So I will read the bio.
Okay.
Okay. Joanne is very gifted at helping her clients work through and navigate their fears and obstacles when it comes to life transitions. She is instrumental in teaching her clients techniques that can be used for many years to come to assist them throughout their lives. Joanne's intuitive use of the planets and stars help her clients have more faith and trust within themselves, knowing it is okay to be who they are. By translating the beautiful ancient language of astrology in a brilliant way to help you understand and discover the evolutionary intent of your soul. Her 20-year healing journey and training in ancient techniques has heightened her already intuitive skills to eloquently heal the souls of past lives, transform the lineage of our ancestors, clear negative energies, and to help lost earthbound spirits to cross over. Joanne has a background in accounting and did this for many years until finally making that difficult career transition to now full time share her knowledge and gifts to help others. She is the owner, founder, and creator of As the Planets Turn. She teaches astrology, is a speaker, muse, and speaker, muse, and writer. Here's what one client said about her. I was motivated by Joanne to take a deeper dive into the painful, long-standing beliefs and patterns of behavior. Joanne has great intuition. She holds a safe space for exploration and has the gift of utilizing both backbone and heart to guide her clients forward. I gained greater personal insight, emotional relief, and clarity through our work together. Let's hear from Joanne Stoneberg.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully that past this banner, it is her. It's her.
We'll find out soon.
Yes. Oh, push play, Jerry.
Thank you, Gertrude.
Yes.
My name is Joanne Stoneberg, and I am based in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I am 59 years old. I guess a little bit about myself. So, oh geez. I'm stuck. Okay. Yeah, a little bit about myself. So I'm Joanne Stoneberg, and I grew up in a normal family out here in Canada. And as I was growing up, I discovered that I had this innate ability to see beyond the veil. And as I got older, I understood this to be clairvoyance, a gift of clairvoyance. And I developed my gift by using the tools of astrology and the tarot. And I first came into astrology, my passion, when I was at a lecture. And one of the ladies there was talking about astrology. I went home and talked about, asked the universe. I went home and like, oh yeah, that astrology, that sounds fascinating. I'm really interested in that. And I asked the universe, I said, yeah, I want to learn astrology. And the universe opened up its big universal doors and everything astrology fell out. I took classes, found books, people, everywhere I turned, astrology. I went to many conferences over the years. And as I developed my skill in astrology, I understood that the importance of the symbolism of astrology and how it made us understand more about who we are as people, how all the planets worked for us, the archetypes and the behaviors and the characters of all the planets and how they work for us personally and in our daily lives and throughout our lives as well. I gravitated towards evolutionary astrology in knowing where the soul comes from. So looking at astrology from the technique of looking at where the soul comes from, how the soul comes into this life, our obstacles, our challenges that we face, all our life's ups and downs. But not only that, the resolution and how to work with those energies of the planets and helping us to grow and evolve and to change as human beings on a soul level, on a physical level, on a personal level, and spiritually. So part of my journey too, being an intuitive and a sensitive and an empath and clairvoyant, my life was not always that easy. I did work downtown in Calgary in the oil and gas industry in accounting for 20 years. And that was definitely a blessing for me, as it helped me do all my studies and learning and really set me up financially as to where I'm at today. But it also too helped me to work with other people and really understand that side of life as well. And then that eventually came to an end in 2015, where I got laid off. There was big major layoffs happening during that time, and I was one of the people that got laid off, and that was a blessing in disguise. I was a little burnt out by that time of working in the corporate world, and wanted to get to doing my my astrology business. And before that, I always wanted to do my own astrology business, right? And so now I had the opportunity. But when I got laid off, I went into this tailspin. I went into this dark night of the soul where I was lost. I was confused. I didn't know which way I was going, who I was, what was I to do. I was in this, as I call it, I was in this ship in the middle of the ocean in the fog with no land in sight. And where was I going? What was I doing? I was lost. I was confused. I'd lost my job in 2015. My father passed away the following year. One of my cats passed away. I had broken up with my boyfriend. So a lot of loss happened during that time period, over a 2-year period. So yeah, I was going through a lot of grief and a lot of heartache, and knowing astrology and all of the gifts that I had been bestowed on me throughout the years of all the different techniques that I had learned through all my trainings, ancient techniques and trainings and past life work, and working with the ancestors and with ceremony and ritual, I was able to, eventually pull myself through that. And it was really funny, because I have to laugh at myself now. Here I am scratching my head going, what am I going to do? Who am I? I don't know who I am. I'm lost. And I'm looking at other people. How do you know you're a yoga teacher? And how do you know you're an artist? Like, what makes you tick, right? How do you know you're a fireman? And how do you know you want to do what you do? And so one day I'm sitting watching a movie, and in the movie, this one of the actresses in there, she's a cake decorator. So I'm like, oh, that's what I'd love to do, be a cake decorator. So this inspired the artistic side of myself. Being in the corporate world was so left brain, I needed that right brain to bring the right brain back into life. So I quickly got online, and I found a lady who lived like 5-minute drive from my house, who was doing a school, and took her full month course of learning how to cake decorate. And I actually taught for a year. Now, I was still doing my astrology and energy healing work, but unbeknownst to me, it wasn't my main focus. So the cake decorating and teaching for a year really helped bring back that creative side within myself that had been lying dormant for so long, that during my time in the corporate world. So I then went on to teach it, like I said, teaching for a year. And then I got to a point where, no, this isn't right. I have to do my astrology. This is where I'm wanted. This is where I'm needed. This is my passion. And finally, the universe and I got into sync together, and I finally stepped into being the astrologer, being the energy worker, being that sensitive person, and really stepping into using my gifts to help others work through their challenges and their dark night of the soul as well. So it's and ever since then, so the past 4 years now, I have been doing this full time, and I love everything that I do about it. I do lectures on astrology. I help people understand how to even use the simple techniques of just using the moon through the month, the full moon, the new moon, the first quarter moon, the full moon, the last quarter, and back to the full moon. How to use even just that simple cycle in your life to help you connect with yourself on an emotional level, to help change habits and behaviors. And my little analogy I like to use for that, just to give you a little example, is the new moon is setting up the party. The first quarter is sending out all the invitations, preparing for the party, ordering the food, maybe balloons, musicians, whatever you need for that party, caterers. And then the full moon is actually having the party. How are we relating to everybody at the party? Did our intention at the new moon play out as we wanted it to play out during the full moon? And then the last quarter, after the full moon, coming to the last quarter moon, is that cleaning up after the party, sort of looking at, okay, what did I need to learn? What needed to change? What do I want to do different going forward? And then we kind of cycle back to the new moon. So just even using this without understanding the full-blown language of astrology, which I've been studying for 20 years, just understanding the simple technique of watching the moon through the month, from new moon to full moon and back to new moon again, and understanding and connecting more with our feeling energy and our emotional self. So studying astrology for the last 20 years has really opened my eyes to a whole different world and technique of looking at the world very differently, looking at it very symbolically, and really getting to the root issue or cause of why we are the way we are, and helping you to work through those ups and downs that we go through in life. And one of the things that I've discovered through all of my sessions and in my journey through astrology is most people between the ages of 52 and 58 is this really magical time period. We're not young anymore and we're not old anymore. And this time period between 52 and 58 is this time period where we're on that ship in the middle of the ocean, in the fog, with no land in sight. And this was where I was in my story. And it's this place of needing to learn to engage more with the right brain, the artistic brain, coming back into our natural rhythm of self, to accept ourselves with who we are as we grow and transition into an elder self, into a wiser self. It's also this acceptance and surrendering into this getting older, as you know, getting older and aging as we transition through our lives. And as we reach 58, this is when we will start seeing land. At 58, we will start seeing land. So as I said, I'm 59 now, and I've seen land, and I'm like, all right, there's the land. I'm now solid. I now know who I am and where I'm going. I'm so thankful for my journey through that time period between 52 and 58, helping me show and find myself. And this journey is almost like Alice in Wonderland, in the rabbit hole, if you will. And so my journey still continues today as I continue to transition. Between the ages of 58 and 60, we transition just as we did between 28 and 30. There's this transition of turning a new page, starting a new chapter in our lives. And as we go through, we get, we mature, we grow, we evolve, hopefully. And we change our lives and start becoming more of who we want to become, if you're open to change, and remembering too that we still all have choice. So I also, life is a journey, life is a blessing, and there's so many choices and adventures that we all experience through our lives. And through astrology, I find that it really helps as a guide and as a tool to help us guide through this, navigating these waters of all these ups and downs and these emotions and our challenges and our obstacles throughout life. And and this is what I love about the language of astrology. It is just this beautiful, beautiful language that I like to share with everybody. And in sharing that, I have also started teaching astrology as well. And I teach this basic language to those who are wanting to learn it. So I do teach astrology, and I do give sessions in astrology as well, or in my sessions, I use astrology and I use a technique which really hits home to understanding, like I said, why we are the way we are. And with astrology and in the astrology community, we're not sure quite how it works. We just know that it does. And there's a comfort in knowing, you know, how we communicate and how we love and how we like to be nurtured, how we process our emotions, what our passions are, what our needs are, what our desires are in this world, and our themes. So thank you so much for listening to my story and sharing a little bit of my life with you. Thank you.
That is absolutely awesome. You know, what I love about your story is this period in our lives when we are transitioning. When I created this podcast, my whole mission was to focus on women over 50. I had just turned 50 myself and kind of felt lost. I didn't know what I was anymore. I had gone through a divorce, so I wasn't a wife. My kids had grown up, so I wasn't quite the mother in the same way I used to mother my children. I had lost my business. I had to start a brand new career. And I've been asking women when they come on the show to say their name, where they're based, and their age for that reason. Because a lot of times women don't even want to own the age they're in. It's almost like society has made us feel ashamed for being older. But this is the wisdom years. This is the time when you really step into your own. So thank you for being here and showing up as you, as really a personification of what I've been trying to say to women all along, that we need to own this space. We need to take it back and be proud of it and step into the next phase of our lives. That's that age of wisdom. Now, if you could go back to a woman who's struggling with this right now, she's on that cusp, she's unsure. Based on what life has taught you, if you could give her 3 nuggets of wisdom, what would that be?
So the 3 nuggets of wisdom for that woman who's lost in the ship in the fog in the middle of the ocean would be to accept where you're at, to explore. Accept where you're at, to explore and think of life as an adventure, and to experience whatever catches your interest. Be curious. And that's what I did, is like, I got curious as to why people were the way they were, which helped lead me towards getting to know more of myself. So yeah, accepting where you're at and being curious and going out and experience what you need to experience during that time period.
I love the exploration piece, because you almost have to go back to a childlike state where you live in wonder and curiosity, wanting to know, wanting to explore what else is out there for me. What else can I do with my life? And not being afraid to explore as well, because fear is one of the biggest things that holds a lot of women back. We get very fearful, we get very scared, and just having fun with it, right?
Exactly.
Now, your analogy of using the ocean is again a very powerful metaphor for life. I've always believed that life is like the sea. It's like the ocean. It comes in waves. It's got those ups and those downs and those ups and those downs. And once you get used to just surfing the waves, life becomes easy. So in your rock bottom stages of your life, when your life has hit a rock bottom, what have you done to pick yourself up, keep yourself motivated, and to get up and keep going?
So for myself, is what I've done is I was fortunate enough to have some friends who kept, Joanne, come on, let's go for a walk. Let's go for, okay, and dragged me out of the house to go for a walk. But not only that, it was reaching out and talking to people and and expressing to say, hey, I'm not feeling so well. Can you come over and help me? Or I need help with this. It's about not knowing that you're not by yourself, but to reach out to anybody, to just go out there and live life and do the rituals, but also giving yourself time to process as well, and know that it's okay to be tired and to sleep every once in a while, because as children, as Gertrude was saying, it's going back to that childlike curiosity and adventure state. We also need time to sleep to process. So it's all about getting curious again.
I love it. So now the last question I have for you is this. If time was an illusion and your past, your present, your future existed in the same timeline, and I could teleport you into the future to the 100-year-old you, that wise woman who has led you to this spot, and you're sitting with your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, surrounded by your dogs or your cats or your loved ones, and you could have a conversation with that wise woman, what would you say to her based on how you're living your life right now and how she's led you to that point?
So the wise woman talking to my younger self, she would say, hey, you're doing your best. You're doing awesome. Keep going and embrace all of life's trials and tribulations, and knowing that it's helping you to grow and to evolve and to experience all that life has to offer, the good, the bad, and the ugly, is what she would say to the younger Joanne. And know that you have all the skills and abilities and talents, and to know that there is no fear moving forward. It just all is.
I love that. I love it. And it's true. You just have to feel the fear sometimes and do it anyway.
Yep.
That's probably the best way to live, is to just be in awe. Now, you are helping people obviously online. Now that we're living in an online age, I have your website running at the bottom of the screen. Is that the best way people can contact you?
Yes, it is.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Joanne, for showing up today and sharing your nuggets of wisdom. Thank you to everybody who's tuned in today. The Herstory movement is meeting some phenomenal women who are real game changers, who are changing the world one story at a time, one woman at a time. Step into your greatness. Don't be afraid, especially at this stage of your life. Get excited, because the best is yet to come.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Gertrude. It's been a pleasure.
Wonderful to have met you, Joanne. Thank you, everybody. I'll be back again tomorrow with yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning or evening, wherever you are in the world, and bye for now. Bye. Thanks, Joanne.
Thank you.
Okay. Your microphone's still off.
I used to, you know how when you're young, you read your horoscope and all of that, but I quickly found out that, you'll say, oh, wow, that's exactly what was going to happen to me today. And then when I started reading the Daily Word, I was like, okay.
Yeah.
So it makes you wonder, are the two connected some kind of way, through a spirit of some sort? Because,
well, she said she speaks to people from beyond the veil. And I do believe that happens. That happened with Grandma. She was speaking to people that were passed on. And at first I thought she was hallucinating until she started talking, being specific. And so I've always, and when my husband passed away and I moved into that house, he was very domestic on the other side.
Mm-hmm.
He was my angel, and he would give me ideas, and I would have dreams constantly about, with him. Like one night, I'd been in the house for about a year, and I still hadn't put. I just had the paper window coverings on. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't. I didn't have window coverings yet, and I thought I have to get this done. There's no reason not to do it. And so that night I went to bed, and I had a dream that me and him went to Home Depot, and we measured the windows, and then we went to Home Depot, and we purchased them. And the next morning when I woke up, I couldn't believe when I went to measure the windows that the measurements were exactly what I dreamt. And I know it was Steve making sure I got it right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But and there was many times when I would feel his presence, and so I do believe people have connection with people across the veil. It just uh, there are angels in this world. I just know it.
Oh, there are.
Yeah,
Yeah, there
and
are.
they guide us and help us to get back to our spiritual nature.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we get out, we forget the spirit, we forget, and then we need that little wake up call.
Yes.
So
Yes. Mm-hmm.
it's interesting.
It is very, very. Okay, well, I think that's going to do for us. This is day 8. Tomorrow is day 9. And
Yes.
we have 10 days. Okay. Um, any closing remarks you may have?
I'll let you do that today.
Okay. We'd like to thank all of you that have been with us throughout or jumped in somewhere in the middle or close to the end. Go back and see it again on Facebook Live, because it is live on LinkedIn as well. So please, thanks for being with us. We've had some very, very amazing women, all ages. We've tried to reach out to everyone. And hopefully, I will be launching my Crossroads podcast, which
Nice.
has to deal with those women over 50 and who have either retired, empty nesters, divorced, lost their jobs at the age of 50, still active.
Yeah.
And trying to just keep it going.
Nice. So I do have, I just drew a blank. Oh, I have to say today was our day that Canada was in the house.
Yes.
We had great speakers from Canada, and I meant to say that earlier, and I thought, oh yeah, some good stuff's come out of Canada.
Oh yeah, we did. We really did. In fact, it has been a wonderful and awesome week thus far.
Yes. Thank you so much for everything and for being patient with me, learning to get the videos going.
No worries. It's the teacher in me.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So we want to thank you, and we are saying good night, and we are ending the broadcast at this moment. Hold on, Jerry. I need something from you.